I expect that allies will agree a message which is clear on the need to move Ukraine closer to NATO.
Coming up next on Scripps News Live, NATO allies meeting in Lithuania today, but at least one world leader is unhappy with the news coming out of the summit. What we know right now about Ukraine's push to join the alliance.
Distinguished members of this committee, I'm honored by the opportunity to appear before you this morning.
President Biden's pick as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff testifying on Capitol Hill today. More from that hearing and his meeting with the one senator who is holding up hundreds of military promotions.
This is a sad, dark day for the state of Iowa. I urge a no vote.
Some lawmakers in Iowa pushing back during a special session on abortion restrictions. The new ban Republicans in the state are hoping to pass during a marathon of hearings and debates. And new developments today in two cases involving former President Trump. We'll have the very latest as a grand jury begins work in Georgia. Scripps News Live begins right now. Hey there, welcome to Scripps News Live. Great to see you today. I'm Veronica Cruz. We begin this hour with NATO allies meeting in Lithuania right now for a two-day summit. President Joe Biden is part of the talks along with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. Zelensky already expressed his displeasure about today's talks. Ukraine has been pushing to join the alliance as Russia continues its war on the country. But NATO Secretary General says there is still no timetable set up for Ukraine's membership. Talks about the war in Ukraine are high on the NATO agenda. French President Emmanuel Macron announcing France will send longer-range missiles to the country. International correspondent Julia Chapman joins us now from Lithuania. She has been following the developments for us. So, Julia, I know you've been paying close attention. Give us the lay of the land and what some of the most noteworthy moments have been at the summit so far.
Well, NATO allies have issued a communique, effectively their statement about the discussions that have been held here in Vilnius between the leaders of NATO member states. And the headline news was really about Ukraine's future membership. Everyone was watching for what kind of language was used. It certainly was met with frustration from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. But what it said was that Ukraine will become a member, but only when allies agree and conditions are met. So that suggests we're not anywhere near that particular milestone for the country. There was an angry tweet from Volodymyr Zelensky trying to put pressure on the NATO allies before that communique was issued. He said Ukraine deserves respect. He said it was absurd that no timetable was being put forward. And he will be discussing his frustrations when he meets Joe Biden on the sidelines of the summit for a private meeting on Wednesday. But there were other areas discussed as well. Ukraine will be getting an F-16 fighter jet training program for some of its pilots, although there's still no sign of any countries sending those planes to Ukraine just yet. And there is talk about more integration between Ukraine and the alliance, steps towards eventual membership, but no kind of prospective timeline on the horizon for what that's going to look like.
Reporting live for us from Vilnius, Lithuania. Julia, thank you so much. So National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby is saying before the NATO summit that the U.S. is focused on the current fight in Ukraine, as well as supporting its immediate and long-term security needs. Our White House correspondent Haley Bull takes a closer look at the talks happening with Kirby and what's happening with these goals. Haley, what can you tell us?
Hey, Veronica, the administration views this summit as happening during a critical time for Ukraine as the country is engaged in a counteroffensive as Russia continues its war. And as Julia just noted, President Biden is expected to meet with President Zelensky while in Vilnius. And as U.S. and allies continue significant aid to Ukraine's defense, part of that conversation is expected to focus on the long-term commitments to Ukraine. But that meeting will come as President Zelensky criticizes NATO for not laying out a timetable for Ukraine's membership in the alliance, though the alliance set out a path, a clearer path for it, reducing it from a two-step process to a one-step process for Ukraine. Now, National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby tells Scripps News that Biden will acknowledge that Ukraine wants to become a member of the alliance, Biden's commitment to NATO's open door policy, but also the recognition and allowing time for reforms in that process. Listen.
The president certainly believes in NATO's open door policy, and he certainly can see a time when Ukraine is a member of NATO. But he also believes it's important that certain reforms are taken that any nation who wants to be a NATO member has to take, whether it's in the rule of law, democratic institutions, political reform. There's still work that needs to be done. And the president understands that now's a difficult time for Ukraine to work on those kinds of reforms while they're in the middle of a shooting war, literally fighting for their lives.
Meanwhile, the U.S. has welcomed news of the step forward for Sweden's membership into the alliance after they reached an agreement with Turkey. The U.S. has been engaged in significant diplomatic efforts in the weeks and days leading up to this summit, including from President Biden having conversations with Turkey's president over the weekend. President Biden also met with Turkey's president today, as well as Lithuania's president. Now, tomorrow he is expected to give a major speech before he leaves the summit. Kirby tells us that that is for what he calls a global audience, including Ukrainians, including the Russian people, saying it will be about his vision for transatlantic security, global security, and underscoring the importance of alliances. So a lot on the agenda for the president in Lithuania. Veronica.
Haley Blue reporting live from the White House. Haley, thank you so much for the update. Also in Washington right now, more than 200 military promotions stalled as Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville continues his standoff. It's over a Defense Department policy allowing reimbursements for service members who must travel to get an abortion. Now, that standoff also delaying President Biden's nominee to succeed General Mark Milley as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Air Force General Charles Brown is testifying today before Senator Tuberville and the Armed Services Committee. Joining us now live from Washington is congressional correspondent Stephanie Liebergen. She's been following the hearing for us. Stephanie, what can you tell us? As the hearing wrapped up, what is the latest on General Brown's confirmation?
Hey, Veronica, good afternoon. Well, yeah, the hearing lasted about 2 hours this morning with just one round of questioning from the members of the Armed Services Committee. But this is the top military position in the country, so it was a really wide-ranging number of topics that the senators asked about today. We covered Taiwan and Ukraine and NATO. There were a couple questions from the Republican side about munitions stockpile in the U.S. and the need to increase manufacturing because a lot of our munitions have been sent overseas to Ukraine. We also hit on competitiveness with China. But a question we heard from both sides of the aisles were questions about recruitment for the military, and something that General Brown defended in his answers, the diversity outreach efforts that the military has been undergoing, wanting to make sure that the military's applicant pool mimics the pool of Americans, and that they have a similar racial diversity in the applicants that we have across the country. And he stressed though that while there are diversity outreach efforts and they want to get more diversity in the applicant pool, that the decisions that the military makes on hiring and on promotions, that those are something that are based on merit every time, and he used himself as an example. Take a listen.
In every position I've had throughout my career, I wanted it because I was the best and qualified. I did not want to be provided a position or promotion based on my background. I wanted it based on the quality of my work. And I think that's the aspect that all of our service members look for, is they want a fair opportunity, but they also want to be rewarded for their performance.
We also had a couple Democratic members of the Senate Armed Services Committee ask about the impact of those stalled military promotions that Senator Tuberville is holding up. And General Brown noted, of course, the impact on kind of the leadership pipeline that the military has, but also noticed the impact on those military members' families and the things that they have to do to make a move to take a promotion, like sell a house or get new school information for their kids or a new job for their spouse. So noting that there really is a bigger and growing impact on those holds that Senator Tuberville is continuing to hold up those promotions.
Yeah, so much to take into consideration. Stephanie, I wanted to ask you what the general consensus seems to be here. Will General Brown be confirmed?
It certainly seems like he will be confirmed. We heard that a comment like that from a couple of Republicans on the committee today. So, it's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. It's a really important position to fill. And while Senator Tuberville's hold does apply to a military promotion like this, he can't block the promotion from moving forward altogether. So what Tuberville is doing is he's basically blocking a fast-track procedure that the Senate can use to kind of shorten the time frame that something needs to be considered on the floor, or allow the Senate to consider or approve a large number of promotions all at once. So in this case, Brown's confirmation can certainly move forward. It will just have to go through the regular Senate procedure and order. So it might take a little bit longer. It won't necessarily get that fast-track consideration, but the current chairman, Mark Milley, due to continue in that position through the end of September, so we've still got a little bit of time, but certainly seems like General Brown is on a path towards confirmation on the Senate floor.
All right, congressional correspondent Stephanie Liebergen, we appreciate it. Thank you. So to come on Scripps News Live, a grand jury in Georgia now at work taking a closer look at former President Trump's efforts to overturn his election defeat in the state, and we could learn more in the case. Plus, Amazon shoppers, get those credit cards ready, because Prime Day is here. Just how long Americans will hold out for a good deal as high inflation continues.
How old are your kids that work on the farm?
Mi niño tiene 8 años, el más grande, y mi chiquitito tiene 6.
Scripps News investigates child labor in America tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Scripps News Tonight.
Hi friends, Richard Karn here. Now I'm known as the guy who can fix just about anything, but the technology in most appliances requires very special training to fix. My point is, even I know when I've met my match, and that's why my family has Choice Home Warranty. So we won't get stuck with high-priced repairs.
Choice Home Warranty covers over 25 major home systems and appliances. That's your AC, heating, plumbing, kitchen and laundry appliances, and so much more.
Imagine for less than a cup of coffee a day, Choice Home Warranty can help protect you from expensive major system and appliance breakdowns that your homeowner's insurance doesn't cover. But you have to call now before it's too late.
Every homeowner should have Choice Home Warranty. Your homeowner's insurance is not going to cover your appliances.
Washing machine, dryer, refrigerator, air condition. If I had any issues arise, they were able to take care of it immediately.
Now, homeowner's insurance won't protect you when your home's major systems and appliances break down due to normal wear and tear. But Choice Home Warranty will. They can help cover repairs and replacements.
Choice Home Warranty is the best warranty we've ever used. It would save you so much money in the long run.
Hey, I'm not the only one raving about Choice Home Warranty. They were named a Best Home Warranty Company and Best Claim Service by U.S. News 360 Reviews.
Call Choice Home Warranty now and get access to a nationwide network of over 15,000 technicians and the latest appointment setting technology so you'll know when they're on their way.
If I have an issue with an appliance or something around the house, I just call up Choice Home Warranty and I don't have to worry about that.
So, do what this old DIYer did and call Choice Home Warranty now before something breaks down. Tell them I sent you and get your first month free.
Call Choice Home Warranty before it's too late and get protection for your heating, AC, plumbing, kitchen and laundry appliances, and more. Call for your free quote today. Call in the next 5 minutes and get your first month free. 800-360-4534. 800-360-4534.
This is a paid advertisement for legal services. Breaking news for anyone who spent time at Camp Lejeune before 1988. President Biden has signed the PACT Act. This means you may be entitled to significant compensation from the federal government. If you or a family member spent time at Camp Lejeune, you consumed toxic water known to cause serious health issues, injuries, and even death. A special hotline has been established. Call now for a free case evaluation. Just call 800-793-0837 now. Even if you've been turned down in the past, this new legislation allows you to refile a claim. This will not affect your eligibility for VA disability benefits. These are benefits you earned and deserve. We encourage anyone who spent time at Camp Lejeune to file a claim. Call now to see if you or loved ones qualify for significant compensation from the federal government. Don't wait. Just call 800-793-0837 now. That's 800-793-0837.
Hey there, welcome back to Scripps News Live. I'm Veronica Cruz. Amazon Prime Day officially here, giving millions of Prime members access to exclusive deals. Prime Day started in 2015 as a one-day only shopping spree before turning into the multi-day event that it is now. This year's event includes travel discounts for the first time as Amazon looks to tempt shoppers facing high inflation. Last year's Prime Day sales hit nearly $12 billion. That's up more than 8.5% from 2021. Now, as inflation continues to impact everything from food, housing, and energy prices to all kinds of consumer goods, many Americans are waiting for sales like Amazon Prime Day and also Black Friday before they open their wallet. That's part of what Katana, an Estonia-based inventory and manufacturing platform, found in a new report. Christian Velocious is the founder and CEO of Katana and joins us now live. Christian, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, Christian, today is Prime Day, and given the U.S. economy, is it fair to say that Americans are tightening their belts and maybe shopping more and more when items have gone on sale? How do you expect this Prime Day will perform?
Absolutely, this is the case. Businesses should expect this kind of a trend to continue. Looking at the report that we put together based on the thousands of manufacturers that we service across North America and Europe, we saw that 44% in sales order volume increase when looking at last year's Black Friday and Cyber Monday period. So it's very likely to expect that discounts are and will continue to be the main driver behind consumer purchasing decisions.
And at the same time, sales have increased. We know last year Prime Day sales were up 8.5%. The cost of consumer goods also, though, are increasing dramatically. So, Christian, what's behind this? I mean, we see corporate profits right now at a 70-year high. Does this have to do with corporate profit margins widening, or is this simply due to supply chain issues?
It's a great question. I mean, we at Katana, we process about $2 billion of US dollars of sales value annually, and thus we have a data set that can really provide a kind of a comprehensive overview of the state of the industry. And what we see is that the prices of products are going up because the prices of raw materials for manufacture are going up. Astonishingly, more than 60% of raw materials increased in price last year alone. And on top of that, of course, you have the food prices increasing ever since COVID. You have production costs that have gone up significantly. Everything from fuel, packaging, materials. So it all stacks up, and this is what the consumers are seeing here.
And to your point, I wanted to go over some of these increases because your report found a staggering 57% increase in material costs in 2022. For example, taking a look at some of them, white sugar is up 26%, whipping cream 28%, Ziploc bags, they've increased 43%, and we've seen an almost 43 or 23% rather increase in the cost of T-shirts. And then when it comes to cars, trucks, even used automobiles, those prices continue to climb as well. So I got to ask you, is this sustainable for the average consumer? I mean, is there any end in sight?
Well, this is hard to say, a really difficult question to answer. What we see, however, that links to your question is that these price increases that companies and businesses are doing and that consumers are facing, these do not necessarily translate into profits for those businesses because discounts are steep, and as a result, in order for businesses to win from these sales periods, they need to streamline their operations. They need to make sure that they avoid stockouts and overstocking. So they really need to digitalize and move from pen and spreadsheets to proper order and inventory management solutions like Katana. And if they do that, then they will be also benefiting from that sales period. But currently, we don't see that companies are stacking up in profits. It's rather the other way around. Many small and medium-sized businesses are struggling for survival. just like consumers.
Which brings me to this, because we keep hearing predictions that the United States is heading into a recession. And economists have been predicting this for well over a year now. And yet the U.S. labor market, even consumer spending, remains steady. We continue to have these economic prints that are hot, one after another after another. So what do you make of this? Why do we keep hearing experts predict a recession?
Yeah, again, it's kind of, it's contradictory because, we've been living in this environment of central banks printing money for many years, and but indeed, the signals that we see based on our data set also is that the party is over, or it has been over for quite many months. Our manufacturing customers have stopped growing as fast as they used to. So based on that data set, I would suggest that for at least a year, if not for more, we will be looking at a relatively difficult times ahead.
So something that I'm hoping you can explain to our viewers is we have seen inflation come down. It was at 9%. It's dropped more than 50%. It's now at 4%. So with interest rates at their highest levels that we've seen now in decades, what is your thought? It's almost as if there is an intent to drive the economy into a recession in order to fix inflation. Is this accurate?
Yeah, I think it is accurate to say that, but it's a very strange situation, the very interesting times that we live in, because the kind of monetary policy that we're currently seeing from central banks and governments is something that has not really been seen before, and I think very few of us can predict where this will lead to. So we continue monitoring what our small and medium-sized business segment is doing and how they are performing, and it's really it's murky. It's difficult to predict where this will end up.
There is a lot of economic uncertainty out there, that is for sure. Christian Velocious,
a lot of
CEO
volatility.
Yeah, absolutely. Christian, thank you so much for joining us today. We do appreciate your time. So speaking of inflation, the hot spot in the United States right now is Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach. It's at 9%, which is twice the national average. It's even more than twice. Housing costs right now are the major reason Florida's population grew the most of any state from July 2021 to July 2022. Still ahead on Scripps News Live, some lawmakers joining the call to investigate a line of energy drinks, the health concerns behind it and the company's response. And dangerous flooding continues in the Northeast, the new threats as officials keep a close eye on dams in one state. We'll be right back.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Abused youth often feel safer on the street. Now, more than ever, that's the most dangerous place of all. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming, and no young person is ever turned away. Please call or go online now with your gift of $19 a month to help a young person. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Your gift will show them they're loved. Homeless young people are afraid and alone with nowhere else to turn.
You want to know that there's somewhere you can go that's safe. So the Covenant House did that for us.
Please call now with your gift of $19 a month. We'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. Please don't wait. Your gift is the lifeline a young person needs now. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org. Thank you for saving precious lives.
How does Klein & Spector get among the most big verdicts and settlements of any law firm in the country? Because Klein & Spector is an award-winning team with 5 doctor lawyers, the most of any firm in the United States. And that's why the New York Times calls Klein & Spector a powerhouse law firm. So if a defective product, motor vehicle accident, or medical malpractice caused a catastrophic injury, call Klein & Spector.
Sunday nights on In Real Life.
For the baby?
Yeah!
Scripps News journalists take you off the grid.
We were just a bunch of kids with a camera.
Stunts have become more specialized.
And to the heart of the story.
When the pandemic hit, the American dream kind of changed.
There were a lot of warning signs. They just didn't care.
In Real Life, Sunday at 8, 7 Central, only on Scripps News.
Here's a look at some of the significant flooding left behind in Vermont right now. Experts say a slow-moving storm dumped 2 months of rain in just 2 days. Officials are keeping a close eye on the Wrightsville Dam right now, where water is approaching the spillway, threatening to flood an already drenched city. Vermont Swift Water teams responding to more than 100 rescue calls so far. And in New York, several drivers had to be rescued in Orange County. That's around 65 miles northwest of New York City. At least one person died in the area as she tried to escape her flooded home. Orange County officials say everyone else in the neighborhood has been accounted for. As heavy rain and flooding slams the Northeast right now, the Southwest is feeling the heat. Now, doctors are warning everyone to take extra steps in order to stay safe. Experts warn that the heat and humidity can worsen symptoms for people with conditions like psoriasis or eczema. And choosing the wrong clothing can cause those issues to flare up more. One allergist is saying if you have sensitive skin and you're going to be outdoors, look for clothing that's smooth and loose fitting.
Choosing something that is cotton or linen that's going to be breathable and also lighter in color is going to help reflect some of that heat so that our skin is able to breathe and stay cooler as well.
So that means staying away from fabrics like polyester, nylon, and spandex in order to give your skin a chance to dry out instead of sweating. You'll also want to grab a fragrance-free lotion and choose a mineral-based broad-spectrum sunscreen. I'm Veronica Dela Cruz. Thank you so much for joining us. For the audience leaving us right now, your local programming is up next. And check us out on scripsnews.com. If you're staying with us, we have much more news headed your way right now on Scripps News Live. Coming up, new details in cases involving former President Trump, what we've learned so far about a grand jury in Georgia, and the new request to delay a trial in Florida. We'll have those updates straight ahead. And lawmakers in Iowa back at work and looking to pass a new set of abortion restrictions. The very latest on those efforts as a special session is underway there. You're watching Scripps News Live.
Attention all seniors. You can now get up to $50,000 for your funeral and other final expenses, including your credit card debt, with no medical exam, starting at less than $1 a day.
Oh, honey, your dad and I can't stop talking about this baby that's coming.
We've also been thinking a lot about our future, and no matter what, we want to make sure we aren't leaving you and your family with any of our debts.
Just last week, we read that the price of a funeral can be $8,000 or more.
Wow, Jeff and I definitely would not have the money to pay for that.
And that's just a funeral. But you don't have to worry. We called, and with one phone call, we were eligible for $50,000 for our funeral and final expenses.
Well, that's great, but don't you need to take a medical exam to qualify? You and Mom have some health issues.
No. There's no medical exam, and we were able to get coverage right over the phone.
And our rates can never be increased, our benefits can never be decreased, and our coverage can never be canceled.
I'm so glad you made that call.
Don't leave loved ones with your debt. Call 800-293-5789 now and see if you qualify for up to $50,000 for your funeral and other final expenses, starting at less than $1 a day. There's no medical exam, and you can be approved even if you have pre-existing health conditions. Your rates can never be increased, your benefits can never be decreased, and your coverage can never be canceled. There's no obligation. Call 800-293-5789 now. There's no paperwork, no hidden fees, and no waiting periods. And you can start coverage right over the phone, starting at less than $1 a day. Call 800-293-5789. That's 800-293-5789. 800-293-5789.
Let's get you updated on our top stories right now. Police in Vegas are at Caesar's Palace, where a man barricaded himself in a hotel room with a weapon. The incident began just after 9 a.m. local after officers received a domestic disturbance report. Police say an armed man pulled a woman into a room by force. The SWAT team has contained the area. No shots have been fired. We're going to keep an eye on this for you and update you throughout the afternoon. NATO leaders from around the world are meeting in Lithuania today. The war in Ukraine is high on the agenda. The leaders agreed to allow Ukraine to join the alliance when certain conditions have been met, but there's still no timetable set as to when that will happen. Turkey's president also agreed to allow Sweden to join the alliance. A new bill that will create an ethics code for the Supreme Court is expected to get a vote later on this month. The Senate Judiciary Committee will likely vote along party lines, but the bill probably won't make it out of the Senate. It's in response to reports over Justice Clarence Thomas accepting lavish gifts from a Republican mega donor. The bill would, in part, establish a path to investigating code of conduct violations. Former Theranos CEO Elizabeth Holmes could get an early release from prison. The disgraced Silicon Valley wunderkind was convicted last year on charges of defrauding investors while she was running the failed blood testing startup. Her sentence was originally set to be 11 years and 3 months in prison, but according to a Bureau of Prisons report, she could be let out of prison nearly 2 years early. Holmes can participate in various prison programs and earn good conduct time to shave off time from her sentence. Hey there, welcome to Scripps News Live. Great to see you today. I'm Veronica Cruz. Iowa's Supreme Court blocked a 6-week abortion ban in a ruling last month. In response, Iowa's Republican Governor Kim Reynolds called for a special legislative session this morning to consider nearly identical restrictions on the procedure in the state. National political correspondent Alex Miller has been following this story for us and joins us now live from New York with the details. So, Alex, Iowa has sizable Republican majorities in both the state House and also in the Senate. Tell us more about their plan to restrict abortion access in the state.
You know, the number of Iowa Republicans in the legislature and their opinions on abortion is not really equal to the opinions of abortion of Iowans as a whole. The Des Moines Register, Veronica, did a poll just a couple of months ago that found that 61% of people in Iowa believe that abortion should be legal in all or in most cases. And yet they have called a special session today, and they'll take a vote later this afternoon on this issue, despite the fact that they were not supposed to be in session today. Governor Kim Reynolds calling this session. Democrats are frustrated because not only do they not support banning abortion, but they say that this was called over the 4th of July recess. Many people were on vacation, not giving a whole lot of time to go over this bill or talk to their constituents about this. Now, at the beginning of the meeting today, this morning, they went through voicing their concerns about this. There was time for public comment, but throughout the day today, there have been people outside of the state capitol, inside of the state capitol, protesting this. Again, Democrats saying that they don't believe people's voices can really be heard in just one day.
Every time you scream freedom from your side of this chamber, your noses grow a little longer. Because this is nothing like freedom.
The conclusion is obvious and inescapable. The Republicans who are driving the process have no real interest in hearing the will of the people. The result, if adopted, will be a betrayal of democracy.
This is about democracy. This is about supporting voters, Citizens, limiting debate. This is a sad, dark day for the state of Iowa. I urge a no vote.
And Veronica, this bill looks similar to one that we saw in Iowa very recently. Right now, the law says abortion is banned at 20 weeks. This new law would have it banned at 6 weeks before many women know they're pregnant. This is because Republicans are seeking what are called heartbeat bills. We've seen them all around the country. They say this is when you can first hear a baby's heartbeat. Though I will say that it's not an actual heartbeat. It's just the movement of cells that create a rhythm similar to a heartbeat. And yet, there are exceptions in this bill for rape, incest, life of the mother, but that rape exception has a caveat. You have to report it to either law enforcement or to a doctor within 45 days. And that is another part of this legislation that Democrats there are so frustrated about. They had tried to pass a similar bill very recently. It made its way all the way up to the Iowa Supreme Court, but the justices could not make a decision on whether this should be able to go into effect, which is why it went back to the legislature once again, and they are going to have to figure out whether this is in fact a constitutional right or something that the state legislature can even do.
All right. In the meantime, that intense debate continues. Alex Miller reporting live from New York. Alex, thank you. Right now, attorneys for former President Donald Trump and Walt Nauta are asking for a delay in their criminal trials without a new date. They've also expressed concern about whether Trump can get a fair trial before the November 2024 presidential election. In the meantime, in Georgia, a grand jury is now at work looking at another case involving the former president and his alleged attempts to overturn his loss in the state during the 2020 presidential election. Scripps News national political correspondent Abijoy Burnett is live for us in our Washington bureau right now. So, Abijoy, why are attorneys saying that they need more time here?
Hi, good afternoon, Veronica. Well, yesterday, late in the afternoon, the former president, Donald Trump, and his co-defendant and current employee, Walt Nauta, they actually filed for there to be a postponement in the start of this trial. They did not put down a specific trial date. They did hint at the possibility of this being pushed back till possibly after next year's general election. And some of the reasons that they listed here, they said there needs to be more time to review all of the documents that will be a part of this case. They said there are tens of thousands of documents, emails, other records that need to be reviewed. So that is one of the things that they said. They also listed that the president, the former president, he will be running for the office once again. That is something that will be extremely time consuming. So they said they need additional time to do that. They have to do the work to run for president and also go through the process of doing this level of work with regards to this criminal case. So that's one other thing that they mentioned. And then there is also the issue of getting an impartial jury. Trump's team, they believe he will not be able to get an impartial jury in this case. But we've been talking about this for several weeks now, and legal experts have told us that this is a part of the strategy, especially for the former president who's really used to being involved in legal cases. It's to delay. We spoke with a former federal prosecutor who said this is a tactic that may not work.
So the fact that he's out campaigning, well, that's just something that he and Mr. Nauta are going to have to fit in to their trial preparation. It's not something that this judge should take as an overriding factor. I mean, quite frankly, that would mean that every defendant who is accused or charged with a crime would run out, file to run for political office.
And we also heard in the filing that was sent in earlier this week that one of his attorneys, he has back-to-back trials later this year. So that is something that they also put into that court filing. But as you heard Weinstein say just now, that may not work because you're going to have to be able to juggle all of these things. And another major development, there was another case in Georgia where the former president was heard on a recording asking a state official to possibly find additional votes after the 2020 general election. Well, today we have learned that a grand jury has been impaneled in that case to possibly figure out if charges should be filed. It's not clear if charges will actually be filed. The grand jury will have to look at the evidence there. And then we also don't know who could potentially face charges in this. These are the preliminary stages before charges are filed if a district attorney actually decides to file charges at all. So that is something else that we're watching, another potential case that that is surrounding the former president, Veronica.
Yeah, lots of questions right now in the state of Georgia. Avajoy Burnett reporting live from Washington. Avajoy, thank you. So bank regulators have been coming down on the Bank of America. They say the second largest bank in the country opened fake accounts and charged illegal junk fees. And they ordered the bank to reimburse $100 million to customers and another $150 million in fines. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says in some cases the bank charged customers for the same fees more than once, and the bank withheld cash rewards. Coming up next on Scripps News Live, lawmakers in Washington calling for the FDA to step in as a new energy drink grows in popularity among younger children. The controversy behind it all after a quick break. And we would like to hear from you. Give us a call on our Scripps News Euro hotline toll free. That number is 1-833-4SCRIPPS. Again, that's 1-833-472-7477. Share your comments and your story ideas.
I was having problems with my legs and my feet.
I suffered a lot of cramps, swelling.
I would dread going up and down steps.
Tingling in my legs due to circulation issues.
The aches and pains have just continued to increase.
Did you know if you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, or are over 40, your leg aches and pains could be from poor circulation? Revitive can help reduce leg aches and pains, swelling, and cramps. Revitive uses breakthrough technology to get your calf muscles pumping like a second heart to increase blood flow, reducing leg aches and pains, cramps, or swollen feet and ankles.
Plus, it's drug-free.
The cramping was terrible, and I don't get that anymore. Thank you, Revitive.
Revitive is FDA cleared and clinically proven to increase oxygen-rich blood flow during use. The smart stimulation works so well, over 3 million people use Revitive.
As a firefighter, I'm constantly on my feet. I wish I had known about Revitive a lot earlier. It would have made a huge difference in really who I am today.
Revitive has given me a better quality of life because I am living without pain.
Revitive reduces leg pains 2 times more than exercise alone in just 6 weeks.
We want to take walks. We want to do more social activities, just the typical things in life that I did not feel well enough before Revitive that I was able to do.
Now, Revitive is regenerizing my legs and making me feel like, let's do more.
Go to Revitive.com now to learn how Revitive can help reduce leg aches and pains, swelling, and cramps.
The doctor said, go for it. And I'm in the best shape in terms of my legs and my ankles and my feet than I've ever been.
Try Revitive. You will see the difference. It works. It worked for me.
Get the most out of life with Revitive. Visit Revitive.com. That's REVITIVE.com. Or call
1-800-317-6641. That's 1-800-317-6641 today. Or visit Revitive.com. Order now.
Wounded Warrior Project has been with me every step of my journey.
They've helped me realize it's possible to rise to the top again.
It's possible to get the help I need for me and my family.
It's possible to hang push-ups again.
To feel understood.
To begin healing both inside and out.
To feel like myself again.
And now I know anything is possible.
How old are your kids that work on the farm?
Mi niño tiene 8 años, el más grande, y mi chiquitita tiene 6.
Scripps News investigates child labor in America tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Scripps News Tonight.
Well, the newest energy drink sweeping the market right now is causing a stir in Washington. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is asking the FDA to investigate Prime Energy drink. Schumer says its popularity is high among children. Prime is among a growing number of new energy drinks with larger amounts of caffeine. Science and health correspondent Lindsay Thies takes a closer look at the controversy.
This viral energy drink called Prime Energy, it came out this year and it has the same caffeine amount as about 2 cups of coffee. The American Academy of Pediatrics says that no child under 12 years old should drink caffeine whatsoever, and that 12 to 18-year-olds should drink no more than about 100 milligrams a day, and that is about a cup of coffee's worth. The stimulant impacts their bodies quicker than adults. Senator Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is calling for regulators to take a hard look at Prime Energy drink.
Asking the FDA to investigate Prime for number one, its claims, number two, its marketing aimed at kids, and number three, its eye-popping caffeine content.
Last year, we introduced Prime Hydration.
This year, we're introducing a brand new product, Prime Energy.
YouTube star Logan Paul is the face behind Prime Sports and Energy Drinks. The drink is popular, more than 116.8 million views for the term Prime Energy on TikTok, and more than 78 million views on TikTok for a meme, "We Got Prime Boys."
They are Prime Boys. We as physicians are very concerned. These drinks and the amount of caffeine in these drinks can give children and teens headaches. It can give them jitters, nervousness. It can interfere with the sleep cycle, which is so important to the developing brain.
A 12-ounce can of Prime Energy contains 200 milligrams of caffeine, compared to other popular or growing energy drinks. It's about twice as much as a 12-ounce can of Red Bull, the same as a 12-ounce can of Celsius Original Drink, and less than a 16-ounce can of Bang Energy Drink. Some schools in the UK and Australia have banned Prime Energy. Scripps News reached out to reps for Paul, Prime Drinks, and their co-owner and manufacturers, Congo Brands. A media rep for Prime responded with a statement noting the importance of the difference between their sports drink and energy drinks, also saying in part their energy drink has a warning label and is not made for anyone under 18. Adding, quote, "We welcome discussions with the FDA or any other organization regarding suggested industry changes they feel are necessary in order to protect consumers," end quote. The FDA considers energy drinks a conventional beverage, not a dietary supplement. And the FDA and the USDA, they right now don't have a limit or a restriction for how much is too much when we're talking about caffeine in an energy drink. The FDA does, though, have some suggestions, no more than 400 milligrams a day. That's for healthy adults. In terms of what that 400 milligrams looks like, that's roughly 4 cups of coffee, about 10 cans of regular soda, or 2 cans of certain energy drinks. Lindsay Thies, Scripps News, San Francisco.
And joining us now live, Dr. John Higgins, a cardiologist with UT Health Houston. Doctor, thank you so much for being with us. Energy drinks have been around now for a while. Yeah, good to see you. So let's take a closer look at this. 12 ounces of Prime has about double the amount of caffeine as maybe a 12-ounce can of Red Bull. Let's talk about the effects that this can have on a child versus an adult. Is there a way for a child to overdose on caffeine?
Absolutely, Veronica. Our studies, in fact, even on young adults here at the University of Texas, Houston, have shown increases in heart rate, blood pressure, as well as an increase. We've seen an increase in irregular heartbeats coming into the emergency rooms in children as well as young adults. And I want to make it very, very clear, Veronica, there's a big difference between energy drinks and sports drinks. Sports drinks are very, very much okay. The problem with the energy drinks, Veronica, we believe, based on ours and other researchers, is the combination of the high levels of caffeine, firstly, secondly, high levels of sugar, and then thirdly, high levels of vitamins as well as substances like taurine, glucuronolactone. And we know that taurine actually can have effects on the heart. So we think it's the combination of those agents. They have an interaction which is unhealthy and has been associated with heart attacks as well as strokes. And our own research has shown it can damage your lining of your blood vessels temporarily. And our concern is, well, what will happen if someone is doing it on a regular basis?
So you're saying that there is a difference between sports drinks and energy drinks, and that taurine is an ingredient which should be concerning to parents. Tell us more about taurine and whether this is found in the sports drink.
The taurine is not actually found in the sports drink. What is found in the energy drink, however, are typically very high levels of taurine, glucuronolactone, and caffeine. And it appears that the taurine itself can have an independent effect on the heart. And what concerns us, Veronica, is that oftentimes when you go to a supermarket, you have the aisle, and in the same aisle will be the energy drinks, and then right next door to them, the sports drinks. And what we have seen in the past and we're concerned about is that parents getting confused. Now, if you if you have someone that actually has a sports drink called Prime and an energy drink called Prime, it's possible that the parents might inadvertently get the energy drink for their kids, even though it is, it's good that they have labeled it as not recommended for under 18-year-olds, as well as pregnant women or those with a caffeine allergy. There are other things to consider as well. I mean, some people who have underlying medical conditions can be sensitive. Some people who are taking other stimulants, like Adderall for ADHD, for example, coupled with another stimulant, might cause issues. And like I said, we've seen issues for kids with jitteriness, as well as difficulty sleeping, changes in behavior, taking more at-risk behavior, as well as cardiovascular changes, issues with kidney function, liver function, and other systems. So we definitely applaud further investigation, and we definitely recommend energy drinks should not be consumed by anyone under 18. And we need to do more research to show, do they really work? Because there are some studies out there showing that they really don't do what they are purporting to do.
Yeah, a lot of this sounds quite scary, and it sounds to me that the issue really is not just the caffeine, but all the other ingredients that's wrapped up in the drink as well. Is there a safe amount to consume? I mean, especially when it comes to kids. If they had one bottle of this, would it do damage?
Definitely, it has. There are reports of such damage in kids with just one can of energy drink. They have been associated with heart issues, as well as even some sudden deaths, Veronica. So we recommend that there is no safe amount for those who are under 18. And we've at our institute, we've even had some adults that have come in who have consumed one or more energy drinks and have had heart attacks. And what the other issue is, Veronica, is, when you, for example, comparing to coffee, someone will sip a cup of coffee over a period of time, but an ice cold energy beverage, they will often chug down. And so that's concerning to us. And also, some of the ways that these are put out there, on social media and other social platforms may attract children toward them, and that is concerning to us as well.
Yeah, absolutely, which is probably why they've already banned this in parts of the UK and New Zealand. And, to your point, I think the marketing might be quite confusing with those bottles and cans existing right next to each other on store shelves. I'm sure parents are getting confused.
Absolutely. Veronica, I was in a supermarket the other day, and there was a mother in front of me with her son who was wearing soccer gear, and he looked to be about 10 years of age, and she had I won't say the name, but she had a case of energy drink there. And she said, "Oh, your friends will really like these for the halftime, won't they?" And I had to actually stop her and tell her that these were not sports drinks that she had on the counter. These were drinks that could potentially be dangerous. And she luckily went and replaced them. But, if this is happening, Veronica, I worry that other parents are getting confused as well.
Yeah, you can easily see how something like this could happen. I've got a 10-year-old who plays soccer as well, so something parents all want to be aware of. Dr. John Higgins, thank you so much for your time and your insight today. We appreciate it. Straight ahead on Scripps News Live, a couple of teenagers in Arizona finding a new purpose through volunteer work. We're going to introduce you to the service guys next. And we'd like to remind you right here to follow us online at scripsnews.com, also on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on TikTok. We'll be right back.
Do you spend hours maintaining your gutters? Save that time with LeafGuard's maintenance-free system. Call 1-833-2-GUTTERS. Mesh filters sit on top of your gutters, building up debris and eventually clogging. Then they need to be cleaned too. Honestly, your home should have been built with LeafGuard gutters. LeafGuard's wraparound hood deflects debris and keeps water away from your home. The one-piece seamless system is strong, 20% thicker than average, and built to last. Plus, LeafGuard is guaranteed to never clog for as long as you own your home. Right now, get a complete Leaf Guard system for only $99 down, $99 a month, and $99 installation. You'll also receive a $100 Visa gift card with a free gutter inspection and in-home estimate. Damage from clogged gutters can cost you thousands. Never worry about clogged gutters again. Don't wait, you've still got time. Call 1-833-2-GUTTERS today. That's 1-833-2-GUTTERS.
You ever feel like you're stuck in debt? Hi, Jacko here from JetBlue, and yeah, I know all about getting stuck to things.
Makes me just want to curl up and hide.
But there's good news. Debt can be fixed faster, easier, and with less stress when you use JetBlue.
The stress from debt can be overwhelming and wreak havoc on your life.
Don't go it alone. With JetBlue's Success Guarantee, it doesn't cost anything unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved. So there's absolutely no risk. See for yourself how easy it is to get started with free information. There are no upfront costs.
So if you're stuck in a cycle of debt, come out of hiding and give JetBlue a call right now. Let us show you how 10 minutes could save you thousands.
And help get you unstuck.
Call 1-888-279-1982. That's 1-888-279-1982 today.
I have patients who think they've tried everything for their sweat. That's when I recommend Carpe. Carpe specializes in effective sweat solutions at an affordable price with products for the face, hands, underarms, and more.
It's honestly just completely changed my life.
Nothing worked for me until I found Carpe.
This makes my life so much less slippery.
I've personally seen the difference that Carpe can make.
Avoid expensive treatments, injections, and prescriptions. Your total body sweat solution is available at mycarpe.com. Visit today and get free shipping.
Hey.
Hey, I'm inside the bank.
What?
I don't have much time. Where's the $500?
I said drop your bank and get Dave. The banking app.
What?
There's an easier way.
Oh, she going to jail.
You can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less when you download Dave.
For over 100 years, this light has shined. A beacon of the free American press.
Reporting from Ukraine, Scripps News.
And now, this light shines even brighter. Scripps News.
So two teenagers from Arizona gaining praise and attention for their commitment to give back to their community and inspire others to follow suit. Deacon Jones and Jonah Alexander, who call themselves the Service Dudes, first started volunteering at nonprofits to earn service hours for dental school. But the recent high school grads have racked up hundreds of volunteer hours since they began in January of last year. And their commitment must be contagious because they've expanded their volunteer group to 30 people.
We thought that people would enjoy the same feeling that we're feeling when we serve. And so we both texted all of the friends that we know. We were like, hey, we have this group we're getting together. Come serve with us.
Good for them. The Service Dudes say that they find volunteer opportunities through a website called justserve.org. And then the site connects a number of organizations to people ready to lend a helping hand. Check this out. Burger King's latest menu item in Thailand causing quite the stir, and that's because it is a burger with no patty. Instead, the buns are filled to the brim with American cheese, 20 slices. Yeah, sources say that each of these so-called real cheeseburgers will come with as many as 20 slices, and it's going to set you back about $11 US. They say that the cheese is extremely popular with young people in Thailand, and the real cheeseburger is already going viral, but some reviewers say that it is just a little too much cheese. Yes, no thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Veronica Dela Cruz. Coming up next, Vermont's capital is underwater. Del Walters is going to have a live report on the dangerous flooding there. Don't go too far. We'll be right back.